Oda did something unusual that basically shook the entire world. It happened to celebrate One Piece reaching 600 million copies in circulation and moving closer to a historic milestone as the highest-selling comic series ever, surpassing legendary comic icons like Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. Oda decided to celebrate in a slightly unusual manner. So he wrote on a sheet of paper, "The secret of the One Piece treasure and the secret of Luffy." Here we should stop for a second. We always understood that there was a mystery behind the One Piece treasure, but we never realized there was also a unique secret about Monkey D. Luffy that is tied directly to the treasure itself. While many people might run to the seas searching for the treasure, I started thinking about the riddle Oda mentioned about Luffy and decided, while staying at home without diving into the oceans, to reveal to you the secret of One Piece. But I need you to concentrate closely, because what I'm going to explain is something you probably haven't heard anywhere else. In Oda's latest message during Jump Festa, he said something very significant after a very long flashback. Obviously referring to the flashback involving Rox and Herald, we had been diving deep into history, and now we have finally returned to the current events. He also mentioned that a moment will arrive when your perception of the Elbaf arc will completely shift, and that its conclusion will be powerful and explosive. After Elbaf, we will travel to the island that nobody has reached except the Pirate King. Many people believe he means Road Star instead of Laugh Tale, and that might actually be correct. But the important point is that Oda is currently writing the last part of the story. He himself confirmed that this is the final saga of One Piece. To understand what that means, remember that the Summit War saga included multiple arcs, like Sabaody Archipelago, Amazon Lily, Impel Down, and Marineford. So in the final saga, we could see arcs like Elbaf, then Road Star, then Laugh Tale, followed by the Great War and whatever comes after it, the ending of the story. So Oda is writing the final phase of the narrative and has asked readers to pay attention to everything from the beginning of the final saga onward. At this point, he has no issue revealing huge secrets, like the truth about the One Piece treasure, because we are approaching the ending. Oda himself said that when the final saga started, the real One Piece had finally begun, and everything we had seen earlier was only preparation. That means he has started revealing major mysteries, like the power of the Gorosei, the appearance of Joy Boy's influence on Egghead Island, and now in Elbaf, we are beginning to see Imu's abilities and the strong flashbacks about Rox. Oda is clearly bringing his story toward its conclusion. Now let's move to the important part. What is the most important thing we saw in the recent chapters connected to the ending of One Piece? The answer is simple: the mural. That mural shocked the internet so much that even YouTubers who rarely talk about One Piece discussed it. But something added 2 chapters ago made me think more deeply and realize the secret behind why Goldie Roger laughed. By the end of this theory, hopefully we will all laugh together too. My theory is simple. The Harley Wall mural was drawn by Joy Boy. Let me explain why. When we returned to the chapter where the mural first appeared, Ripley said it looked like childish drawings. Then she said something extremely important that many people ignored. She said they were simply children's dreams that never truly happened. After that, Oda showed us a panel of children, which we will return to later because Oda never includes things randomly. Then we saw Saul holding the Book of Harley and saying it contains 3 sections, or 3 walls, or 3 worlds. But in the mural, we only see 2 worlds. So where is the 3rd one? Logically, the first interpretation of the mural is that it represents the Great War between the Ancient Kingdom and the world government. That seems reasonable. But then a question appears: why would a child draw something like that? Why would a child record a historical war with such detail, especially when part of the mural appears to describe events that have not happened yet, as if they somehow knew the future? Some people might say the mural is actually describing the future, but I disagree. First, Oda would never reveal the ending of One Piece so easily. Second, we know characters like Emeth appear in the mural even though they disappeared long ago. Instead, what if the mural was not a historical record at all? What if it was not documenting the past or predicting the future? What if it was simply a child's dream? Exactly as Ripley explained? And if a child created that mural, then that child would be Joy Boy. Imagine this. 900 years ago, before Joy Boy became the legendary figure connected with Nika, before he even gained the Devil Fruit, he was simply a child. As a child, he dreamed enormous dreams and drew everything we see on the mural. Strange creatures, Dragons, different races living together, and a hero fighting an evil ruler. He even drew himself as the legendary liberator Nika, who would free the world. At that time, it was only imagination. But something strange happened later, when Joy Boy ate the Nika devil fruit, the fruit that Luffy now possesses. That fruit is unique. It is said to be the freest and most ridiculous power in the world, and it seems to choose its user. In Egghead, we saw Gear 5 fighting in a cartoon-like way, turning imagination into reality. Luffy could create objects from his imagination, like goggles or paint, as if his thoughts were becoming real. So here is the frightening idea. What if Joy Boy was the very first user of the Nika fruit? What if the dreams he drew as a child started becoming reality after he obtained the fruit? The wars, the rulers, the alliances, the revolutions, everything he once imagined began occurring in the real world. But in the end, Joy Boy lost the war. The tragedy is that he lost for a very simple reason. He never drew the ending. Before his defeat, he gathered everything and left it on one island, Laugh Tale. That is where the One Piece treasure lies. But the treasure might not be gold, weapons, or even history. What if One Piece is simply the story Joy Boy drew as a child? The complete story of his dreams, imagination, and impossible hopes that somehow became real? When Roger reached Laugh Tale, he laughed because he read the entire story and understood the truth. The whole world had been living inside the dream of a child. That is why he laughed. The story was ridiculous, crazy, and beautiful, but also real. That is why he said, "I wish I had lived in your era, Joy Boy." But Roger also realized something else. He had arrived too early. The person who would complete Joy Boy's dream had not yet been born. That person, of course, is Luffy. And the biggest twist is that Luffy will not just live the story. He will write its ending. The mural shows 3 worlds, but Joy Boy never drew the final one. That is why he lost. Luffy will be the one who finishes the story and draws the ending. But even if Emu is defeated and the world government falls, there may still be someone who tries to change the ending. Marshall D. Teach, also known as Blackbeard, the man who said that people's dreams never end. Teach might be the one who attempts to overturn Luffy's dream and reshape the story. In the end, this theory suggests that the entire world of One Piece is Joy Boy's story, and the story still has no ending. Luffy is the one who will finally write it. That is my theory for today. It may have deeper layers and additional details, but these are my ideas for now. Tell me your thoughts and theories so we can make this theory larger and deeper. If you enjoyed this type of theory discussion, let me know. Thank you for watching.